Hi, welcome back. This is Larry Long with International Dispute Management. Today's video is going to be number 3 in our Types of Government series, and today we're going to talk about authoritarian governments. Authoritarian governments are defined by their strict control, as you might guess, and that control is over political, social, and economic life. They limit political freedoms, and they control with censorship and repression. Usually, violence to suppress the will of the people. Most notably, and I'm only going to go through a couple of these, North Korea, China, Iran, and Russia are known to be authoritarian regimes. Although Russia says it is a type of democracy because they had elections, and just because you have elections doesn't make you a democracy. Because if the elections are rigged, which in a lot of cases authoritarian governments they are, or you put the other candidate in jail, you're really not a democracy, and you only have one party. So you're not a true democracy. You need more than one party, and you really need to be more than just the party that you're the head of. So there needs to be some interchange between ideals. Can a government be authoritarian and still be democracy? I think I just answered that. Not by definition, since democracies are governed by the people and authoritarians are suppressing the people, and it's generally run by one individual or a specific party. And we'll kind of get into that a little bit here. There are different types of authoritarians based on their platforms. And some of them are just right out crazy leaders, but some of them have a very well defined platform. Note that North Korea and China are communist. That's their platform. Iran is a theocracy. That is their platform. And really not sure what Russia is, but it's not a democracy. It's estimated there's somewhere around about 60 countries in the world that are considered to be authoritarian. I mean, that may seem like a lot, and it is. That's a lot of different countries that resort to authoritarian rule. So far, there's far too many of them to mention here on this video, so I'm just going to kind of like give you an idea where they're located, mostly in South America, Asia, and Africa. I encourage you to go online and search authoritarian regimes. I really think that you would be surprised. Pay attention to the features such as lack of freedom of expression, freedom of the press, and other methods of repression that these types of governments do to the people. And it really is a power struggle. So again, on all these videos, I'm looking at the power structure. So what are the power structure in these countries? You might be surprised, and you might think, well, it's pretty easy. The power structure is just the person at the top. And that is not necessarily true. Power in this case is exercised by a central authority without any right of the people or third party. So, they're going to have platforms, some of them. This results in a monopoly. And of course, monopolies are generally illegal in most democracies. In communist countries, the power struggle is designed on the party or the political platform. And they generally have several people at the top that are in charge. So that gives them a class system, which is really not what communism basically is about. So Iran, it's based around the religion. So that is something that you really need to look at, because those platforms can change. But the boundaries can be blurred because individual families, parties, or regimes can also exercise some kind of an autocratic power. And like in Russia, they have autocrats all over the place. If you're rich and you can dictate pretty much what you want as long as you go along with the basic party platform. In addition, there's more complex structures, such as those as military dictatorships. China, for example, is also considered a dictatorship, despite its huge People's Congress, which they have over 3,000 deputies. But any opposition to the basic platform, to the system, and you will be removed. So, I mean, you got to follow that doctrine. And those 3,000 governors are there to suppress that at the lower level. So when working with other nations, regardless of the type of government, we generally refer to this as shuttle democracy. So this is how we negotiate with authoritarian regimes. So really, shuttle democracy or diplomacy is a third-party intermediary or a mediator between governments in a dispute without direct principal-to-principal contact. And that's very key. So, and I'll talk a little bit more about when you're negotiating with somebody that's an intermediary. This was first used by Henry Kissinger in the Yom Kippur War, which most mediators have adopted the term shuttle diplomacy because you're constantly going back and forth, back and forth. It's not the most productive system, but it is a system that has produced results. So I want to recommend to you a book if you want to know more about it. And let me see if I can get you this. Here, a good picture of this. It's Leashing the Dogs of War. I first came across this book in my graduate studies at Creighton. It's an excellent book, and it gives very, very vivid examples of how shuttle diplomacy works. So it's written by Crocker, Hampson, and al. And I'm hoping it's still in print. My copy is very old, but I would never sell this book because it's so valuable to me, because it's a great reference book. So the book talks about power in terms of behavior, which is different what we generally train most mediators in the United States. So, and it defines power as the ability to affect the behavior of others so that you get the outcome you want. Okay, that's going back to, the interest-based system. So this is different than what we commonly refer to in mediators as being neutral. This is actually, you're going to have to, in this type of negotiations, you're going to have to go beyond neutrality because you're trying to get a specific outcome. And you may only do that step by step. So short answer, slowly, step by step. And in reality, it depends on the interest and the power structure of the regime. Because a lot of them are just going to play you. They just want to keep the conversation going, the mediation going, so they can build up reserves, so they're no longer fighting. So remember, in dispute resolution, we're looking for a BATNA, or the best alternative to negotiated agreement. But first, we must establish the true power structure. Is the person you're negotiating with, do they actually have the power to make a change, or do they have to get approval from someone higher up? And this is generally the case. We're going to come to an agreement, and even in the European and United States, when we negotiate, that person that you're negotiating does not have the power to resolve the issue. They have to go back and get approval, and generally it's either the Parliament or the Congress and the President. This can make the creation of objective criteria very difficult because the playing field keeps changing. One administration may want something, the next administration may want something totally different. So for that mediator, shuttle diplomacy can be a real handful. I would also like to encourage you to go online and do some research to find out videos, and I did find quite a few, and provide a more in-depth understanding of negotiations with specific authoritarian regimes. And the book, Leashing the Dogs of War, gives you some very, very good historic references that you can go by. And, it's just always good to have a good idea of history with a particular country. Um, so no, not one of these authoritarian regimes are the same. They all have they all do follow certain patterns, and it's those patterns that you want to focus on, which will make you a better negotiator and also make you more successful. And because we have to look at right now what's going on in Iran, and it's January of 2026, and they are suppressing the rights of the people because there's so much demonstration. And it's estimated there's like 2,600 people dead that we know of. I mean, we really don't know because they've currently cut off all communications with the outside world. And so nobody, very little is getting out, and nothing's going in as far as communication. So that is something to watch, and it'll be interesting to see how we negotiate some kind of relief for the people. But all I can say is stay tuned. I mean, that's all we have. So that's all I have for today. And if you have any positive comments, please leave them below. Thank you for having, and have a great day. And if you're not a subscriber and you'd like to subscribe, or if you would just have comments on the topics and stuff and you would like a different topic, let me know. I would gladly add a different video for any subject that you want to talk about, as long as it has to do with dispute resolution, or in my case, dispute management. And a good point about the Dogs of War, they do talk about dispute management because these things go on forever. All right. Thank you very much for tuning in, and have a great day. Bye.